Welcome to the Quota podcast. I'm Dylan Fole.
I'm Gavin Malcolm.
Our guest tonight is Dave Foster.
He is the man, the myth, the legend. I've known this guy for a long time. I taught his son how to 360 the first day I met him. It's been such a treat chatting to him. We think you guys are really going to enjoy it.
So have you guys been doing any other videos?
Yeah, we just dropped the sledding off the roof video.
No, I haven't finished it yet. Well, because I don't put out the actual YouTube videos until Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
Because we do podcast.
That's right.
Like Monday or Tuesday, and then video
Wednesday or
Thursday. Depending. I've hurt my back over the weekend, so I can't.
I was going to say you were walking around like me earlier.
Yeah.
Looked like an old dude.
So I'm good. This chair is actually good, thankfully. My editing chair, even though it's a nice chair and good, it's for this back injury, it's just awful.
Is it lower back that you got?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got mine from carrying a refrigerator up my front yard. A neighbor put it out on the curb, so I went and knocked on the door and said, "Hey, can I have that fridge?" And so, me, like
of course you solo
like
manned it. Yeah, because you're the size of a house. Yeah.
So I freaking grabbed the fridge and walk it up my house. And I got about halfway up the yard, and the door handle got caught in my ring.
Oh.
So it was starting to, it felt like it was ripping my finger off.
Jeez.
So then I start kind of adjusting, trying to get my leg up underneath it so I could bear hug it. And I finally got it all the way to the house, and then threw it up on this countertop. So
That's so.
later that day, I'm
you're
like,
the
oh,
only
shit.
person capable of bear hugging a fridge and just strong manning it into the house. I remember when I was working with you doing cabinetry, there was that one we potentially overbuilt this cabinet.
Usually the case.
And it weighed close to 200 pounds, I bet. That thing was so heavy. And we forgot the little, adjustable sliders that you normally use to hang cabinets. And it's a hanging cabinet. It's up on the top. And so Dave's underneath just deadlifting this thing and just shoulder pressing and just fucking screw it in. It's not level, dude. I don't know what to do. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. Just screw it in.
It was everything I had to keep that thing above my head. It was 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was pretty shoulder strong, too. And I'm like, dude, get a goddamn screw in it, will you?
Oh, it was so funny. Yeah, because we're in, of course, the clients, in the house, watch. So it's just, uber stressful. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to just be poking holes in the wood, but also, this has to go in, and it's definitely not level. I think we ended up just screwing it in and taking a little break and then leveling it out one little bit at a time.
Yeah. After that time, I'm like, I'm getting the cabinet jack, so I don't have to have Gavin dink around with a 2-inch screw for 5 minutes.
The cabinet weighed significantly more than me, for sure.
Totally.
And I'm like, dude, I'd love to help you right now, but I've got nothing.
It's just solid oak cabinet, or
It was a big old upper cabinet made out of maple, and it was just heavy as hell. We can't figure out how to build a cabinet
inch thick. Backing even it wasn't
wow.
which is
because we had to screw it to the wall.
So and it was a big
old cabinet,
probably the size
it's bigger than
of that but longer.
Yeah, it was as tall as that, but probably all the way out to here.
And there was no real other way to build it that I could think of.
No, I overbuild everything. Just the way it is.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, cool. I guess we'll get started and rock into it.
Yeah.
Today's guest, we have David Foster. He is the man. We got Party Dave, and he has been a good friend of mine for a long time. Dylan for a while. We actually met. The first time I met him, it cost him $50, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Gavin.
How many of you guys have you met that way, by the way?
I've lost money a few times, so on first meetings. So whether it's at the bar or hanging out at the bike park with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely cost me a couple bucks. So.
Yeah.
I mean, Gavin does great work though. So
yeah, exactly. You got me back, I'm sure.
Yeah, somehow or another.
I drove your son around for close to 5 years. That got to count for something.
I was trying to make a joke.
Oh, the woodworking.
Didn't
Yeah.
work.
No. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, I feel like you've just done so many cool things with your life, and I feel like you and your family have always prioritized fun and making sure that you guys are just like full of life regardless of what's going on. And we couldn't have a better guest today, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. I met Gavin, my son, Dawson. He's 20 years old now. How old was he back then?
I think he was 13.
He was 13. Okay. So been in the Parker area, Colorado since 1993. I actually came out here to find a wife.
Yeah.
So I started
Mission
trying to have
accomplished.
fun pretty early. So I needed to find a wife to slow me down a little bit. So I went 1,000 miles from LA to here to find a wife. And after I got here, it took me about 6 months, and I finally found her. So
It's amazing what a dedicated, committed vision can accomplish.
Yeah.
In Denver, 6 months is impressive.
This is back in the day, though.
it's back in the day. Yeah, there's it was way easier back then.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to swipe left or right. So
Yeah.
just, I had a big party. We had a big bonfire party. About 100 people came out, and she happened to show up. So that was that. So, yeah, it was actually pretty fantastic.
Tell us more about the bonfire party.
So bonfire party, I used to have them all the time. We lived out in Elizabeth at the beginning, and we wired our barn. We had a 2-story barn with the hayloft and everything, and we actually wired it with sound, and we had big old dance parties out there, and we'd have the big bonfire, and about every 10 minutes it seems like the cops would show up. So, yeah, it was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we had out in Elizabeth, there was when the night of the party, Megan actually got lost. So
Of course.
I left my party. My mom came out and got me, and I left the party to go find her. So I left
Yeah.
all the 100 people at my house to go find her. So, and as I got her back to the house, we were walking up the driveway, and she, her sister goes, "Hey, my sister thinks you're cute." I'm like, "Cool, this is done deal then."
Yeah.
I didn't even have to sell her on the idea.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to sell something that they're already interested in.
Right, hell of a lot easier. Yeah. So past that, I actually have quite a bit of fun in my day, my 9-to-5 job. So I actually sell homes to active adults. So I'm pretty much a lifestyle planner during the day. We do all kinds of fun parties and activities, and we bring people from all over the country and just engage kind of the fun that they want to have. And we actually spend a lot of time just kind of whining and dining them and having a good time with them. And they end up buying a house in Colorado. So it all kind of works out. So
it's your fault that all these people are moving here.
partially, yes, partially. So since
Not innocent.
definitely not innocent. So seeing if I've probably sold thousands of homes in the Colorado area. So
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. But a woodworker
Hashtag
by
humble
trade.
brag.
Yeah, right. A woodworker by trade. I grew up and I always wanted to be a woodworker. So when I got out here originally, I actually was doing woodworking, learning how to do cabinetry and everything like that, and that was a ton of fun. But that's as you get older, you got to figure out something else that's not so hard on the body. So
Yeah.
selling is a little bit easier now. Yeah.
So you don't want to be bench pressing 200-pound cabinets all day?
Only if I have to. Only if I have to now. It used to be fun. It's not fun anymore. So when I walk around like an old dude for the rest of the week, so
Yeah.
it hurts a little bit.
Oh, man.
At least you have an excuse. I don't have an excuse. My back just goes
Yeah,
out for no reason.
Just gave up.
That's what happens once it goes out. It tends to haunt you.
Yeah, it's
So-
been happening for at least the last 10 years, probably more.
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
years.
Well, you guys engage in some pretty crazy stuff, so maybe that's some of it. You never know.
Yeah, but it never hurts. Like, I never crash and then
Yeah.
it hurts like this. It's like I'm just
Just brushing your teeth and bang, it goes out.
I mean, I was going snowboarding and I leaned down to tighten my binding, and then it was done. First run of the day,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and it was over.
That was it, huh?
Yeah.
So did you get to do any more skiing, or did you have to sit it out?
He
toughed it out. I was pretty impressed.
And it was miserable. And
Yeah.
then I got to watch these guys. So we had adventure days. So we started with snowboarding, then snow biking, and then regular biking.
Okay.
And so I got to watch these guys do my dream of hitting a massive backcountry kicker on the snow bike.
I felt horrible because I've been the guy who had to sit out, and it's the worst because you're already on the trip. You can't just go home and pretend like it doesn't matter. Like, you have to watch everyone else have the fun. But
That's not fun.
yeah, no.
Yeah,
But
it takes
Dylan, seriously, mad props because absolutely troopered through that whole day. I mean, climbed the side of a mountain with his back like fully blown out. Like, I'm gonna film it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna wait in the car while these guys go
having fun.
Run this jump. But
yeah, I get mine goes out about every 2 years, so that's it. So
yeah,
little chiropractor action, a little screaming, little crying. That's back to normal.
Good.
Yeah,
couple brewskis.
That's it.
Yeah,
couple Advils, couple beers, hot tub, good to go.
Good to go.
So I try and stick to the yoga program, but then I haven't been since we started the podcast because we've just been so busy, and this is what happens. So I gotta get on it.
So far, all the so I'm in a 6-pack challenge as a result for this, which is going well. You can see the faint whisper of 4 very teeny tiny abs.
You talking about beer drinking or stomachs?
So both. So first person
because they don't normally go together.
So first person to a 6-pack abdominally wins. Loser has to buy beer for a year. 6-pack a month for a whole year between me and Sam, the Rocket Dr. Kerber.
Okay.
And so far that actually has helped a lot.
Yeah.
Because I've just been working out all of those muscles because normally I just don't care enough. Versus now I actually have to, and it seems
now you got to get it done.
Lot. Yeah.
Well, it's going to cost you money if you don't make it.
Exactly. Yeah, and
so.
I just want to be better than Sam. He's inherently cooler, smarter, more talented, so I have to be better at this one thing. I've got to beat him.
And how long do you have to do it?
Whoever gets
it first.
I'm in it till
as
it
judged
happens.
by me.
So can you like airbrush it in there a little bit?
I feel like Dylan he'll catch on.
He'll catch that, huh?
I might shave the chest hair into a 6-pack.
Nice.
Well, yeah. So I guess let's go back to how we first met. Your son Dawson and I met riding BMX bikes at the local skate park there in Parker. And Dawson was 13, and I'm just a friendly person, and I love working with kids, and I'm just always all about helping someone younger than me, because I feel like I've benefited from so many people doing that for me. Like, you're one of those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you took me in and like taught me some woodworking skills that I never would have gotten otherwise, and gave me some opportunities to make money that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And so I always try and look to pay that forward. I see this little kid just absolutely sending it, but has no idea what he's supposed to be sending, and he's trying a 360 and just shouldering it every single time, straight to the shoulder, 270, slap the shoulder on the concrete, 270, slap. And I couldn't get it. I know he's so close. So I go and give him a couple pointers, and at this point I don't even know that David is at the skate park. And then Dawson drops in, bangs it out first try with the little hint, whatever I told him. And then he immediately is like, hold on 1 second. And he pedals over to this guy at the skate park. And he's like, money! Because his dad had bet him $50 that he couldn't land the 360, or said if you do land it, I'll give you $50. Did you ever pay up on that?
You know what? I'd have to look back and see. I'll ask Dawson when I get home, so see if I ever paid him. I'm assuming I did.
You paid him in free rent as a 20-year-old.
Probably so. Probably so. So Dawson, actually, I used to ride BMX too.
That's right. There's
so
some photos
out in Orange County, he has photos of me flying through the air in his room.
Sheep?
What's that?
Sheep Hills?
I can't remember exactly where it was. It's Orange County. There was a BMX track somewhere. I mean, I was young back then. I was 13, 14 years old back then, so I didn't drive, so I didn't know where I was going. My mom would drop me off there. But I rode a Redline bike, and I saved that bike for him or whichever son.
Right. I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we still have it hanging in the garage because I said, you know what, that was a big part of my youth. I wanted to make sure that my kid actually got to ride my bike. So we took the bike apart, sprayed it, did a bunch of stuff, and he rode that bike for quite some time until he finally said, this thing's a heavy clunker. I want to get another bike.
Yeah, until he grew into the size of a small tree. And
right.
Instead of
needed something way better.
All the time.
Right. So, Yeah, and that was kind of neat thing for him to be able to ride my bike and to continue to keep going on and doing a lot of cool stuff. He's getting pretty damn good too.
He's frustratingly good. As someone who taught him to 360, and then I just get spanked every time we go to the skate park now. Like, so humbling. It's the only word. We're just like, oh, that's right. I'm getting older, and he's just reaching prime. Like,
yeah. I need to get him to do a backflip though, so I don't know how much that's going to cost me.
Footage on my phone of him doing a backflip.
But that was on a resi.
That was a resi. That's
that
true.
was a resi. I want to see one on concrete.
Yes.
No guts, no
backflip
glory.
challenge for Dawson Foster. Gauntlet has been thrown.
So how much is that going to cost me?
I feel like it costs him if he doesn't do it because he can do it.
I think he'd do it if I threw $500 out. I think he would do it.
I'll do a flip whip for $500.
Yeah.
Real talk.
You're not my kid.
I'm your favorite kid.
You're like kind of like my half adopted kid. But
I know. I feel like I have like 12 extra sets of parents just because I was such a lost child. Like, are you my daddy? And then go to another group of people like, you guys are fun. Are you my mommy?
He just wanted to get fed. That was it.
That was it. Oh. Yeah, I really think it'd be fun to get you on like they make the 22-inch BMX bikes.
I have one.
You do?
I have a cruiser.
Of course you do. Yeah. That's awesome.
Dyno, I think.
Let's go make this happen. Let's go.
That's how I broke my shoulder, though.
When, though?
So on Mother's Day, I don't remember. I was 30, I think. 30? Mm-hmm. Right around there. So 3rd degree separated my shoulder.
No kidding.
Backyard double jump.
What was that, two decades ago?
Yeah, dude.
It's just
you've
about
gotten older and wiser, and now you won't fall. You've learned from your mistakes.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I barely can walk down a damn street now, more or less, ride a bike.
How about this? If you do a manual on your bike for X amount of distance, Dawson has to backflip his bike. I feel like that's fair.
Okay. It sounds like I might lose some teeth, but all right.
Well, it's a manual. You never leave the ground.
I'd rather see a jump, like jump a tabletop, even a tabletop jump at wherever, a racetrack or...
Yeah, that'd be fun. I feel like that's the next Joy Quota video. We set you guys up
to do some jumping.
To get you and Dawson to, like, if you do this, Dawson has to do this.
Okay.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm getting hurt that day.
No way.
Give me some shoulder pads. Yeah. I'll do it.
We'll get you some hockey pads.
They got those shoulder pads. I watched a bunch of old guys racing that had them on. So I'd do it.
All right. That's the spirit.
So you grew up racing in the like 80s and 90s, early 90s in Orange County. Mm-hmm. Do you remember any of the guys that you were against? Because that was like the biggest time for BMX in especially Orange County. Everybody was living in Huntington.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was huge back then. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember because we got asked to get sponsored from some team. And I don't remember for the life of me, I can't remember the team, but we were actually pretty decent. So we had a group of 4 guys that we'd go out there and race, and we'd clean up pretty good. So never went pro, but it was in the amateur class, but we did pretty good. Yeah, up until the time I think I was about just under 16 years old, so probably 15 and a half, and then I quit. So once I got my driver's license, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go chase girls instead of bikes. So.
Yeah. Happens, yeah. Oh, man. Well, that was right around the time when you... Because didn't you live at a theme park for a while or like something weird like that? Yeah,
so I actually moved away from home when I was just almost 16 years old. So I went and worked a ranch for my room and board, and I lived in the barn. So I took care of, there was an Arabian horse ranch. I had about 30 Arabians, and we were on 300 acres, but it was in an old rundown Santa's Village in Northern California.
Which is hilarious.
So, oddly enough, my parents dropped me off at this place, and I think my mom just started crying when we pulled up. She didn't ever stop until she got all the way back down to L.A., because it was a 1800s tree in the middle of the barn scenario, and I was out. We were kind of in the breezeway between the barn and the house. No heat, nothing. I froze my ass off up there, and the lady that we were living with was a bit batshit crazy. So
You're kidding. She let a 15-year-old run away live in her abandoned barn? Seems like a sane decision.
It was a friend of mine's mom, and we were living with her, and she I don't know what her story was, but my guess is she was hopped up on some medications or something. Like, she used to call us at 3 o'clock in the morning, make us go feed the cats, and just stupid stuff. I'm trying to go to high school, you know. And so I graduated in 91, so I was probably riding bikes in the 80s, kind of early 80s, and then kind of that time frame. It was nuts. So I didn't go to school a whole lot. So
yeah, I feel like you're one of the prime examples of someone who's really found a wonderful, happy, fulfilled life without having to go, $90,000 into debt at college.
Yeah, I actually kind of a little bit of a crazy. I came back from Northern California and went to school. I was on full work experience. So I went and opened up, I sold car stereos right outside of Compton. And which is a weird thing to do, but I actually would go to school for an hour a day, and then I would go open up the car stereo store. So I would go inside and I would sell the goods, and then I'd kind of throw my tie over the top, and then I'd go and install it. So I made killer money back then. Bet. But the schooling situation, I ended up having to go to an alternative high school to take care of being able to go to work full time. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I was very, very lucky to be able to get to where I'm at today based on the stupid crap I did as a kid. But, it was just learning how to use your sales skills and to get to where you need to get to. So I'm a pretty determined person, whether it's on a bicycle or doing woodworking.
The Foster clan in general.
They're pretty determined people. So yeah, not a whole lot can stop us. No. So when we set our minds. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
So was it just school? You just knew school wasn't for you, or what made you decide, like, I need to go live in Northern California and then I need to go move to Compton?
Well, my parents moved to the L.A. area, and then when I was in middle school, they got divorced. So when that happened, I said, bye, I'm out of here. I didn't want to be in the midst of that. So I said, okay, I'm going to go move up to Northern California while you guys hash out all this stuff. And luckily they could let me go, and it was a good learning experience. You learn how to work hard in a farm. And an Arabian horse, it's a hell of a lot of work.
Oh, and they're terrible horses as far as, like,
very,
finicky.
Very spirited.
Finicky.
Yeah, and quite pissy.
Yeah. I had one for a while, and it was, it was my sister's, but as most things happened in the Malcolm family, I ended up taking care of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, when I went up there, I did that for a while, and then we used to kind of go. My buddy that I was living with up there was really into car stereos, so we were ripping his car apart and doing a bunch of stuff and doing some real kind of ghetto fab stuff, duct tape and stupid wire loom stuff. And I said, you know what, I want to actually learn how to do this. So when I went back to L.A., I went to work and got a job as an apprentice in the shop. Swept up the floors for 6 months or so, and started kind of working on my own car. And the owner saw that I could actually do some stuff, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come out in the installation bay and start working?" And I took to it like super fast, just very, very creative. I ended up being the guy that completely modded the car. So I'd build the speaker boxes, I'd build the amp racks, I'd do all the high-end wiring and everything, and I just picked it up super fast. It's in the blood. My dad did that kind of stuff too growing up. So I'd just been around that kind of life for a while. So got the job. I was managing a car stereo shop right outside of Compton when I was, how old was I? I don't even think I was 18. So I had the shop was mine. They just basically gave me the keys and said, run it. So I'd go and I'd sell it. Then I'd go outside and install it, and we were there was a four store scenario, and we were the number 2 store. It was me and one other guy. Yeah. So, and we were kind of killing it. It was kind of a neat thing.
I'm surprised at all by the story.
Yeah.
Everything I know about you, everything about Dawson, like, that's not even a shocking story to me, because you just have, there's certain people I've grown up around who just have this unwavering You could call it faith, you could call it determination, you could call it certainty,
Right.
that they're going to do well, they're going to do their best, and it's going to be more than enough. Like Josh Thurman and his dad, super similar situation. I've never seen JT second guess himself. And I feel like that's like a quality that you have as a 16-year-old. You're like, no, you guys are having like a weird issue, mom and dad, like I'm out. And then as a 17-year-old, you're like, I'd like to make more money than I'm making here on the farm. Yeah. I'm going to take over a wireless stereo shop. Like, that's so awesome.
Honestly, it's the people around me have given me good opportunities to be able to be successful, and they see the determination and the creativity. I think, probably 80% of it is creativity, and the other 20% is entirely just straight out stupid determination. Yeah. To make it. And like Dawson, and my older son, Devin, no idea, like, failure's not an option,
Absolutely.
And if failure does happen, it's a learning experience. But the reality is that there's just zero fear. Just go forward and learn it. Yeah. And nowadays, things just pick up and progress because you got YouTube and you can learn anything that you want to do, listen to podcasts, do different things, and really take on that kind of, education like super fast. You can turn the wheel even faster. So, the stuff that we're doing today in the wood shop and doing things is I never dreamt I'd do. Yeah. Ever. And just, no fear, just kind of get after it. So, yeah, I've been entirely very, very lucky, but very, very determined as well. So
I feel like there's probably a graph someplace that correlates luck and determination. If you're determined for long enough, you will get lucky.
I think that is the equation.
In all honesty, like at some point, you're bound to get lucky if you're just determined enough.
Yep. Sheer stupid straight line determination. Yeah. Sooner or later, a door is going to open. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people stop before they get there. Yeah. And say, well, this isn't working out, I'm going to divert. And I don't have that mentality. I go straight into the brick wall and I'm hoping I just make it through. Yeah. So, and I think I see that in both of my sons, which if I could have taught them anything, that's what I wanted to teach them, is just boldly go and stop worrying about what people say and do. And it has nothing to do with what you're doing. Just make it happen. And both of them, young men are doing, and, my oldest son moved out to L.A., just threw all his crap in the car and flew out, That was it. He was just driving all the way out there. They stopped off at the Grand Canyon. He got some inspiration and said, I think, sat in front of the Grand Canyon and cried and said, for some odd reason, I'm inspired. I got to go do what I got to do. And went out to L.A. and he's doing it. So, it's pretty cool. And my wife, Megan, is a little bit more kind of let's just stay around and kind of she's a very, very strong woman, but it's a 10-mile radius.
Yeah, it's a different kind of strength.
It's a different kind of strength. Yeah, super strong lady.
And you guys have made superhumans. It's really what it is.
They're
strengths, both like well over 6 feet tall. Like I've never even seen either of them sick a day in their life. They're incredibly talented and creative, both of them. You guys have created superhumans.
They're doing good. I'm a pretty proud papa, and I think that's probably the coolest thing that I've done is been able to be a part of their lives and to see them do what they're doing. All the things that I did as a kid and all the neat things I've built and all that kind of stuff. I got pictures of it, but nothing gives me the joy than showing those boys how to live life and without fear. I think that's super cool. So, that's really pretty cool. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's a perfect toenail into like you and Megan have done such a great job of raising a really fun household.
Yes.
In a society, especially in Parker, where I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think a lot of people, family is just this like weird place where you spend time together in a house and everyone's kind of on separate agendas. Even though each one of you is incredibly passionate about very separate things, every time I've ever come to the house, it is a family affair. Like whether it's just hanging out or it's everyone's grilling or we're jumping on the trampoline and Megan's hollering through the window and she's being a part of us just tramp biking, or we're in the hot tub having awesome conversations. Or I feel like you guys have done that really intentionally. And I think that's a huge gift that you could give people is just kind of some of the ways that you've been able to create that environment, because it's so priceless.
I give almost 100% of the credit to Megan, that she just stays so super engaged in everything and brings people together and really kind of makes sure everybody is paying attention and doing right. Me, on the other hand, I'm just wanting to have fun and have a good time with guys coming over and goofing off.
Yeah, wish I could relate.
Yeah. So
no, we've never done that.
It's her intention and my ability to still be friends with my kids, but also know that there's a fine line between being their friend and being their father. I want them to feel welcome at home, and I want their friends to feel welcome at home, and I want them to want to be there, because I think if they want to be there, then they'll be around, and we can kind of be a part of their lives. But on the same respect, if they get out of line, I'm pretty quick to let them know exactly where that line's at. And it's not so much the fun, Dave. It's the enforcer dad. But I'm very quick to let that off and to say, okay, let's move on. So, and I think that they're pretty good about that too. But yeah, it's keeping them around, keeping them having fun. We are relatively young. We had kids young. So I think that was a way for us to still be active in their life. And not to say that older parents can't be, a good part of their kids' life. We just happen to be not too far off of their age. So
yeah, because you guys had Devin pretty young.
Megan was 20 when she got pregnant. So she was young. And I think when he was born, I was 23. So when all said and done,
yeah, that's something Allie and I have talked about. We're like,
yeah,
we're in this weird place where we're like, either we lean in and we're young parents, or we pull out, pardon the double entendre, and we wait till we're like in our like mid-30s and we lean into being like older parents, and we get to. But I feel like there's something about if you nail it like right at like 30. You're not really getting the best of either world. Like you don't get to like enjoy the first half or the second half.
I think it's different in any case. I think we were young and broke, so we really had to come together as a family because we just didn't have any money to do anything else.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. As you're in your early 20s, you buy a house, you have kids, and next thing you're like, oh my God, I never thought that this was going to be this expensive. So, we were rolling pennies for gas.
Yeah.
And not paying this bill to pay that bill, and, hoping that
game.
Friday came pretty quick so the kids could eat some more ramen.
Yeah.
But I see people that have kids later on in life, and yeah, they're more settled and they have money and maybe their careers are in line and all that kind of stuff. So it's just it's different.
Yeah.
I think either one can be great. I think the key to kids is not always just being, you got to really let them know where the line is. So I think whether you're old or young, I just think that you have to say, here's my rules. And if you cross it, that's where the bad area is. And then if you stay within it, then it's the good area. And I think it has to be a hard, fast line. I think what we learned as parents is that when we blurred that line, chaos.
Yeah.
Same with, training kids, training dogs, training, doing all, whatever. Not to say kids are dogs, but it has to be, you have to know where the line is. And I think my kids learned that pretty quick. Megan is a tough lady.
Yeah.
You don't mess with her.
No,
Nobody messes with her.
Infinitely more scared of Megan than you.
Yes. Most people are. So, she is definitely the toughest girl I've ever wrestled. Mm-hmm. And I've wrestled some pretty big guys too, and she's tougher. So, Yeah, I think they didn't really try to mess with her a whole lot, and if they got too far into it, then I could come in and address it. But great family life. We do stay together. We try to have dinners together. We try to make it fun and exciting. We travel a ton, and let them be a part of it. And we just we're honest with them. We didn't really not let them see life. We didn't want them to be sheltered, because when they got into life, we wanted them to know that, hey, it isn't all,
sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly. So we wanted them to know that life can be tough. So be nice to people, save some damn money, and you'll have a good life too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and what you said about being consistent, I feel like that's just a rule in general for life. Like, if it's health, if it's fitness, if it's BMX, if it's this podcast, like anyone who wants to do something on YouTube, like consistency is the key. If it's you want to build a business of any kind, consistency is the key.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite people on earth, her name is Alison Armstrong. She is like an expert in all things men and women. She's just spent 30 years devoting her life to it. And so many people have asked her why her kids are where they're at.
Right.
And she always says, it's because I was absolutely consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They knew it 100% what they were going to get. Whether it was good or bad, they knew what they were going to get.
Yeah.
Like if I told my son, like, don't hit me in the leg with that little toy, because if you do, it's going to go in the trash. No matter what the tears were, like, she'd still throw it in the trash. Like, I told you, so I'm accountable. If I don't, then, like you said, absolute chaos consumes. And I feel like that's the same with life in general, and especially with the joy quota message. Like, it's so easy to kind of push that, I'll get to having fun later, or I'll you know what, I hate this and it's not fulfilling,
right,
and I'm just so burnt out all the time, but if I grind through a little bit more, maybe I'll have some time to get to having fun later. And you have to consistently pour into yourself the same way. And I feel like you and Megan have both done a really excellent job of, through raising kids, through having jobs, and honestly through some pretty crazy stuff health-wise with Megan.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have always really prioritized having fun in filling up that joy quota and filling up the tanks, so to speak.
Yep.
What were some of the
Absolutely.
things that kind of helped you through that process, especially with everything that Megan went through, and maybe some of the results and like learning lessons that you could pass on from that?
I think the lesson that we learned, especially with her, the illness and everything, was that you don't know how much time you have, right? And you're right, pushing Joey off, pushing that trip off 10 years or doing whatever. Yeah. There's unfortunately no guarantee that occurs, and Megan and I learned that firsthand right around the time of our 15-year wedding anniversary. And as she was in the hospital dying, we said, if you get out of here, we're gonna change what we do. We're gonna do all the things we said we were gonna do. We're not gonna let a year go by. We're gonna make sure that we put 2 or 3 trips on the books every single year, and we are gonna do exactly what we want to do. And I think we did a fair amount of that before that scenario, but that snapshot in time said, don't ever let things slip. This year is this year.
Yeah.
And every single moment of every single day, we have a trip in the works.
Yep.
We never don't have one. We know exactly where we're going next, and we probably have the next 2 or 3 trips planned, half purchased, and we're moving that direction because we said, don't ever let the time go by. Don't ever let the time go by. And our kids are the same way. Just, make it happen. Now, you don't want to be foolish and, not pay the house payment because you went on a damn trip. That's stupid. But we make sure that we work hard so that we can play hard, and that happens. I mean, we're heading off to LA next week to go be with our son, In June, we go to Tampa to be with family, and then we're trying to plan another trip just for Megan and I's time. So that's kind of the back to romance time, So that's important too. Take care of the kids, take care of family, but most importantly, take care of that relationship that is really the foundation of everything. And so that's kind of how we live. Is Megan says, we just got done with a trip. Where are we going?
Yeah.
So before we even finish that trip, we're on the trip. We're planning the next trip. So yeah, we have a lot of fun. We just that's focus. That's focus. My work is far enough along, and I'm doing well enough to just be able to say, hey, it's time for me to go. And my job and my employer, really, really take good care of me. So I appreciate them a ton, and I work really hard when I'm there, but when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for that, too. You spent a long time getting to that place where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming with the intention of using it like you have, right? Where it's like, hey, I didn't just get to this place where I'm really good at what I do and I know my value so that I can just make some extra money. It's so that I can live some extra life.
It's very much intentional, and I didn't necessarily learn that from other people in my life, with the exception of my homeowners that I now serve, with selling them the home. They're the ones that tell me don't let time go by.
Yeah.
So I learn it from my customers that life is important today. And because I sell, basically 55 plus communities where, they're living their best life now, I get to enjoy that time with them, and I get to learn from it. I get more out of the deal than they do.
Yeah.
Because I can see how I want to live my life. So very intentional every year, very intentional of what we're going to do. Let's go out and have some fun. We wanted, when she was in the hospital, we said we're going to New York. We said we're going to New Orleans. We said we were going to go to Canada. We said we're going to go to Northern California. We knocked all that stuff off in just a couple of years. We just went and did it. And the memories and the things that we have from that, makes me better at my job, because I can come back and I'm a happy guy, and I can show all my customers that like to travel, check it out. I've been there too.
Yeah. I feel like that's such an understated part of filling up the joy quota and making sure that your life is full of fulfillment, as cheesy as it sounds, is you're better at everything else in your life.
Every single thing.
Every other part of your life is benefit. It's like health. Like if you take your health even remotely serious, like if you do 80% of what it takes to be a really healthy person, every aspect of your life will benefit.
Yep.
And I feel like with joy quota, it's even higher percentages. Like if you meet that joy quota to where you can really feel joyful or fulfilled or both throughout a week, you're going to show up as a different person at work. You're going to show up in your relationship differently, as a parent differently, as whatever your hobby is, you'll show up differently. If like with woodworking, you absolutely do it professionally, but it's on the side, and it's rare at this point because you guys are just doing so much with building out Parker into this massive place. You guys have done so much work over there. And Dawson's been awesome enough to take care of kind of the woodworking side. But, I feel like because you get so much joy out of woodworking, it became really easy to invite me and Dawson to come join you.
Yeah, I wanted to share in that fun. I get the most joy from being around the people around the wood shop. And, one of my long-term dreams is to actually have a place where it's a co-op where people can come and share and have a good time and, love on one another and design and create and just really have a great kind of co-op scenario.
Dude, he's in the compound. He's in the compound.
Yes. Does he know?
He has no idea.
Yet? I don't know about the compound.
So since I was a little kid, this is one of, for lack of a better term, this is one of the earliest memories I remember thinking, like, I want to be committed to making this happen. And it's kind of wavered in and out of how serious I was about it. And the last, pretty much since we started Joy Quota, like, it's just been kind of just filling up my chest more and more of, I want to start a community where we buy, 20-acre plot or something big enough and build however many homes on it. But it's got a racetrack. It's got a crazy swimming pool. It's got a skate park. It's got like a rec center type building that has all kinds of stuff in it where everyone has their own house, but we all get to do life together.
Fun. Yeah.
So, like, JT would have a car shop with a bunch of lifts, and if anyone wanted to tinker on their car before the racetrack, we go to JT's house, and because he's the shop guy, JT has to do life with us. We have to do life with him. I was picturing myself being the woodworking guy, but I'll find a different niche. But, like, that's kind of
there doesn't have to just be one woodworking
exactly,
guy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
but that's kind of the
whole
idea.
Point, right?
Is
you can have a woodworking shop and then
I'm freed up to build whatever else. And, like, Allie would have, like, an art studio and, like, just places where the community is absolutely individuals, but it's not individuals who stay that way. It's individuals who become much, much better together.
And I believe that life used to be more like that, where people came together and they really kind of worked. You had the blacksmith, you had, it wasn't like you just went down and paid a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of barter system and a lot of things. And I think that's super exciting to potentially one day get back to that. And I wanted that for my family. When I see my sons, I would love to have a 20-acre, 100-acre farm where they can all live and my wife's parents can live, and if my mom wants to come live, that's great. I think that's fantastic. And our current situation with our wood shop, the gentleman that I work with there, we're kind of doing that, where we invite people in and I teach their kids want to learn how to woodwork, so I teach their kids, and he allows me to keep put my tools in their shop. So it really creates this kind of co-op. I teach, I get free rent, and it's just really kind of
big shout out to Bob, because that's where you took me under your wing. And I learned so much about cabinetry and woodworking in general, because I kind of dabbled because of who my dad is, but you actually know what you're doing versus, like, you're not just, like, framing out a wall.
Yeah, and his son was in the wood shop with us and is a phenomenal. He builds beautiful stuff now.
This is a phenomenal dude.
And to me, that's just absolutely amazing for me to say, because what I do doesn't necessarily matter, but everybody that I've taught along the way will build far greater things than I'll ever have the opportunity to do. And I think that's where I get my joy, is to see that occur, and, like, to see you, like, when you built your bed, I'm like, that's just super cool. He's thinking differently than I'm thinking and doing some really neat stuff.
That was only because of you. I can promise without a doubt. You showed me the wood shop where I just happened to be living nearby, so I was like, I'll go dick around and
check it
out. And then I saw this cool wood, and I'm like, I bet you I can make a bed. And then you were kind enough to let me borrow some tools, and before long, I'd built a bed from scratch, having never done anything like it before. And it was exclusively because of that time it was probably like a full year that I spent monkeying around in your wood shop on the side.
Super impressed, by the way. That was an
it's
awesome looking bed. It's still together, huh?
Yeah.
You didn't hit the floor yet?
Not yet.
Hey, you did all right then.
No, but as a teacher, there can be no better feeling, I feel like. Yeah. And that's kind of what I would hope to get some of out of Joy Quota, is to, like, start to inspire kids or anybody, really, to start having more fun in new ways and see the same thing, where I never even thought about that cool thing you just did, and then we get to see that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was at a job site the other day, and someone literally, for whatever reason, they saw, it was just like a little gangway, like a little 2x12 by 20 foot long gangway from like a 4-foot high ledge to the ground. And for whatever reason, their brain, like the synapses just like forgot to fire. And they're like, dude, I can't make it down this. I cannot make it down this. And they just freaked out for 5-6 seconds until it caused enough of a scene that the entire job site got behind this one person. And they're like, you can do it. And all of a sudden, this weird moment happened where they finally walked down this gangplank, and it's all wobbly and stuff, of course. And they get to the bottom, and you could tell, like, I will never know what it's like to be that happy. You're so pumped right now. And I think that's such a good thought, Dylan. I hadn't put it even into my mind until you just now said it. That's kind of what we're hoping to do, is share little moments like that. I've had a couple people reach out just from listening to the podcast or seeing the videos. They're like, I wasn't going to go karaokeing tonight, and then I saw your latest post, and I was like, you know what?
I'm going to go.
I got to go. It's going to be awesome. Or,
Cool.
Someone reached out, and they're like, honestly, I forgot that I was a decent enough driver that I could go into the mountains and drive. I literally let myself get to a place where I felt so boxed in to my specific environment or situation that I forgot I could just drive to the mountains and enjoy the mountains.
People in general are scared shitless about life.
Yeah.
Right? Walking the plank, driving the mountains, driving in the snow, doing whatever, and that fear completely stops them.
I feel like fear and joy are so irrevocably linked. They're so tied together. Every time I felt tremendous fear, on the other side of even trying, even if I didn't succeed, tons of joy. Even if it ended poorly, I was like, I sent it, or I tried it, or there was at least some real moment of life where something significant happened because of it, instead of just that scary and stopping.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not sure how you learn that growing up, or if you're just, I don't know if it's a lack of intelligence that you're just too stupid and you just go for it. I don't know.
Argument could be made.
That's definitely where I've been a few times in my life. Long stories behind that, but
I think
I'd like to hear at least one.
We're coming back to that. Finish your point and then let's go.
No, I think ultimately that you just have to push through it. It's just the same thing like learning a bicycle trick, that you could literally sit on the top of the wave for freaking forever and never try that 360 and get that $50 out of your dad.
Yeah.
Right? You'd sit there forever. But sooner or later, you just got to give it a go.
Well, and more importantly, he was eating shit time and time again.
He failed.
And he never stopped sending it full strength. Not knowing what he was doing wrong. He was like, he never showed any signs of fear. He was, I got more going to land this or die.
I got more out of that 360 moment than he ever got. It was way worth the $50 because I literally thought about that for probably 2 years after that. It continually went back to it and said the kid had enough guts after time failing.
30 crashes?
Just to go and do it. And you know what I saw? And the thing that I learned the most is I literally saw the change in his face when he did it.
Yeah.
When the look on his face when he was at the top and going for it, I saw a change when he landed it, because as he took off, there was determination on his face. And I knew the minute he took off, it was happening. I just knew it. And I'm like, there was my $50.
Yeah. So. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm constantly inspired by little moments like that where I'm just like, you kept sending. Like, I've been at job sites with people where they were, let's say, green, and they weren't 100% informed about what their task was, and they're not doing a great job, but they're not willing to settle for a poor quality job, and they'll just sit there until it finally works and looks right, And even though it's kind of a weird moment and I'm off doing my own thing, I'll take it. Sometimes, every now and again, it'll hit me like, I don't know if I would have hung in for that full hour and a half of trying to install that vanity or like whatever it is. And that's such a cool gift to be able to give your kids, is I feel like you've specifically, not just, specifically, but very intentionally, like you guys really intentionally made sure that they knew the value of determination. Mm-hmm. And I think that's such a gift.
And the value of failure.
Yeah.
Because determination is one thing. You don't learn squat if you're just succeeding all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Failure is exactly where that is where the best learning resides. Yeah. And if you learn how to, you've read the book Fail Forward and all this, however you want to put it, that learning, I can't tell you how many jobs I was on at the 11th hour. I screwed the entire job up.
Yep.
And it took me till 5 o'clock in the morning in the middle of, downtown Denver by myself in a building that if I walked outside, I'd get locked out of to get that damn job done.
Yeah.
You just had to do it and figure out a way. And boy, sometimes it requires some real off engineering, if you will.
But I feel like that's where the creativity lies, and that extra little spark of like, what's the right word? I'm almost thinking like pride, but not in like a bad way. Like all of my most prideful moments, like I rebuilt my truck after I rolled it. I used to have a pre-runner. I flipped it, destroyed the thing.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad was on the ladder because he was finishing the barn. He was like doing some weird stucco work or something. And I was just moping around the house because I was 19. I'd taken out the first loan I'd ever taken out in my entire life to get this car. And now it's wrecked. Rolled it. And he looked down on me. He's like, "You're allowed to be sad. This fucking sucks. I'll never forget. This fucking sucks. But you're also not allowed to stay sad.
Right.
Let's figure out how we're going to make this better. So you tell me when you're ready, and we'll go fix this thing." And maybe 5 hours later, I was like, all right, what are some options? Maybe we can do this. Maybe we can do that. And literally in 2 to maybe 3 weeks, I had the whole thing put together. I'd learned how to weld.
You cut that car in half, didn't you?
I cut the car in half, welded a whole new body on it. We reinforced the roll cage so that it wouldn't ever twist and bend the way that it did. I had never done anything on a car pretty much except change the oil. I replaced the whole front axle, the whole front knuckle, literally within a matter of weeks, maybe a month tops. I had this thing driving and better than when I bought it. It had a sunroof now and all this crazy stuff. And that was kind of the first time I recognized the lesson of learning things the hard way is sometimes better because you only need the lesson once.
Well, it sure in the hell sticks.
Exactly. You only need the lesson once.
Right.
Well,
versus
so do
when...
you think because we've talked a lot about determination, and I've kind of been wondering, like, how do you define that necessarily? And maybe it's hard work after failure, or even because of failure, or in
maybe despite
some failure. Knowing
I feel like
failure and then
determination and
work.
Faith are so they're so linked.
You need hard work for determination, but
you also have to believe that it will work.
I think the story of go out and succeed is bullshit.
Yeah.
I just think that's bullshit. I think you go out and fail as best you can and then succeed. I think that's the way that it happens. Now, there might be some people that go out there and just go and do it. Kudos to them. They're a hell of a lot smarter than I am.
I mean, Elon Musk appears from the outside to have done
that. To have done that. But I think that determination is when you get punched in the face, you're still willing to fight.
Yeah.
I think that's
Rocky
where
factor.
Yeah, the Rocky factor is that I can't see straight and my nose is bleeding, but I'm still ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think so to your point, I think every single scenario that I've been in, it was a choice. Sit here and mope.
Yeah, you're allowed to experience the sadness. You just
Take
can't
it in.
stay there.
Take it in.
I want you to learn from this.
Don't stay there. And maybe I've stayed there for a couple days or a week or however long, but sooner or later I had to say, suck it up, fat boy. Let's get moving.
Yeah. Life goes on.
Life goes on. And I think that determination has taken me to certain levels because I could have bowed out. I could have bowed out multiple times in school because, I freaking failed grades and I did this and I did that and I was just a stupid ass kid. And I could have failed doing car stereos and got fired. And I mean, there's just all these other things. And I continued to excel there. And I ended up being like the youngest, certified installer in the country at the time. And I just kept going. I didn't know any better. I said, you just can't stop me.
But you have to love it, right? Because you wouldn't be determined to do something that you didn't love.
I don't know if it's that you that you have to love. I've done things that I haven't necessarily loved. I just had to do it to get to where I wanted to get to. I think determination is to know, like, maybe you love the end goal, but the shit you're dealing with right now sucks, but you got to get through it.
Yeah, being able to see why what you're doing is important.
Is important.
In terms of where you're going.
Yeah.
That extra little bit of vision to say, like, wow, what I'm doing right now, like, that's been a big part of me and my journey right now is, like, I'm not thoroughly stoked with my company right now and where I'm at with that. But it's freed me up because it's paying me well enough and I'm safe enough there to where I have the ability to come do the Joy Quota as a result. In this, it's like relearning BMX. It's like rediscovering BMX. It's not relearning, like that same crazy fire within me where I'm like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing that I felt when I was 15 when I first started really getting into BMX. And it was that small shift of thinking of, like, even if where I'm at 9 to 5 isn't where I'm going, it's affording me the opportunity to actually get where I'm going.
Yeah.
Which is
and I think that's it, as I think that you kind of put in so that you got the end goal in mind and you got to do some of the shit work to get through it. So I think, I love being a woodworker. I love having great tools. I love building that beautiful piece, but 90% of it is, sweeping the shop and doing shit work so that one day I can look at this beautiful piece.
Yeah.
It's just a give to the end. And even in my job today, I take shit. I'm in a corporation, everybody's like, what have you done for me lately? What did you sell today?
Yeah.
I take that day in, day out. They're just shots coming off the bow. And I finally say, you know what? What I truly love is to say that in the end, it's the number one selling community in the country or the number one selling team in Colorado. That's the joy that I take. It's that little tiny snapshot in time where I can say, I did it.
Yeah.
And it's probably more feeding my ego than anything. I can't.
Well, yeah. But
say what it is.
I'm never going to complain against someone having an ego.
Yeah.
I have to believe that some amount of ego is good, or I'm.
But I also say that in the midst of all of that, I've taught people how to do things. They are now succeeding. They're doing things. They look at me like, hey, I really appreciate it. I get texts. I can't believe that I get to be a part of this, or thank you for letting me spend years with you in the wood shop. There's so many different things that I get to say, you know what? That's success. That's what brings me joy. That's what makes me happy. And all that shit work was it was what I had to pay in. It was what I had to pay in every single day.
You got to do it every time.
The dollar I had to pay every day so I could make the $1 million. It's just $1. It's just how it went down. And again, more successful than I ever thought I would be, being a failed out 7th grader that his mom's looking at his sister and or the daughter and the son going, you guys are, I don't know what the hell's the matter with you.
Yeah.
To where I'm at today, never would have thought. But determination, I love the end result. I love the fact that every day I can say I gave it all. I didn't leave the idea that I didn't care about the people around me. I didn't take the time to go and travel. I didn't take the time to go and woodwork. I didn't take that time to do it. Now, I wanted to garden. I heard my customers talking about gardening
I remember watching this idea happen in you.
Yeah, for 10 years. I'm like, and I kept saying, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And then one day I was walking down the street showing a house, and the lady looked at me and she goes, why in the hell haven't you done it? And I looked at her and I go, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And she's like, stop talking about it and just go plant some shit.
Yeah.
And I did.
And now you guys have a sweet garden.
Yeah, and now I'm teaching that to my son and his girlfriend, and they're pickling and doing. I mean, it's just the ideas just evolve, and it's just super cool to see it happen. And it's just let it happen. I don't like to stop it. I just if I want to be a crazy painter, I'm going to be a crazy painter. If I want to be a woodworker, I wanted to be a woodworker since the time I was 10 years old. I used to go and steal wood off a job site so I could be a woodworker.
That's what we used to do to build ramps.
I'm a master cabinet maker by trade.
Yeah.
I did it. I did everything I ever wanted to do. Now in the sales arena, I want to be the best at what I do with 55 plus communities. And in Colorado, I feel I am that.
Yeah. I mean,
now,
the numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie. Let's what's next?
I feel like the biggest theme, even that has kind of gone through each one of us, is that the biggest part of joy and where the most bang for your buck goes when it comes to creating joy and creating that fulfillment is giving it to others. Like what you're talking about, like you enjoyed making a garden. As soon as Dawson and Jackie got in on it, new level. Absolutely. You were like, wow, I didn't know that I would enjoy or feel so grateful that I started doing this much. Or like same with teaching Dawson a 360 was like one of the first times I remember being able to pass on what Yellow Designs had done for me, where I got to learn some tricks. I got to be around some people who knew what they were doing and genuinely better myself as a rider. And then all of a sudden watching this kid go make $50, and I was like, I just absolutely, like, I just gave this 13-year-old kid $50.
Yeah.
Like, I was a part of his journey, and now, like, he's, as like you said, he was a different person. Like, he landed that thing and was beyond stoked, and every time someone's reached out and said anything about Joy Quota, they have mentioned, oh, I didn't realize I was capable of this, or thank you for shedding light on this. And that makes me even more pumped than I am on this whole endeavor that we're doing. Even though I'm enjoying it so much, it's that next level. It's the most bang for the buck. It's always sharing it. It's teaching it.
Yeah, and I'm 100% with you. 100% with you in saying that, everything that I ever started out doing were very, very selfish behaviors. I went off because it was what brought me joy. And what I realized along the way is that I was learning it so I could give it to somebody and share it. And with you with the woodworking, and my sons with all the things that I've taught them along the way, and my coworkers even being able to say, you know what, today they're better salespeople than me. Yeah. I gave it to them. I said, here's the path. You take it as far as you want, but I'm here for you. And I think in the end, that's what it really, really becomes. And I can see why teachers love what they do. I can see why people that train and do different things that brings them that entire joy about they are giving it to people. And to me, I want to live that with them. I still want to be there, and I still want to be engaged, and I still want them to show me. I want them to come back and say, look what I did.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And when I get that random text with a picture of what they did, and they always, it's the same text almost every single time. check out what I built. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Or I did this because of you. And it's just, that's like, I can go home now.
Yeah, there's no better feeling.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember when Feast came to town, I literally went to that 55-plus community, and I dragged your son away from Parker because he was being stubborn. And there goes that same, like, just dumb determination. I was like, he's an idiot if he doesn't at least enter the contest.
Right.
He's an idiot. He's more than talented enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth the learning experience.
Yeah.
And so I called him. He missed like 5 of my calls. I drove to Parker without even knowing if he was in Parker. Showed up in Parker, and he's like, yeah, I'm over at my dad's. They're doing some like crazy barbecue at their community. Drove over there, showed up, and literally grabbed him, talked to everybody for 15, 20 minutes, and dragged him down to Denver. Got him to enter into the contest, get a couple practice runs in. The next day, he shows up, and he's playing it real cool, like, blah, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. And then, sure enough, like, contest time rolls around. I'm like, here's what you want to do. Here's your strategy. Like, you have what it takes. All you really need to do is just stay calm. It's just a normal session. Do what you already know how to do. You don't need to feel pressured to go, like, send some crazy nonsense that you can't land. Just do what you can land and enjoy yourself. And by the end of the contest, dude gets second place in his first ever amateur contest. And it's a huge contest, probably 50
huge.
riders in the heat. And I remember when he was trying to play it so cool, he left town and he wouldn't even be there for the results. And I texted him like, hey, dude, you got second. You going to come get your prizes? And the call I got where he was so fired up and so pumped. And I was like, he wouldn't have ever known that if it wasn't just for someone saying, like, you have to do this. You have to participate. And, like, I didn't even beat him. And that was a really cool experience of, like, I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to get him into the contest. Where I got was completely irrelevant.
Yeah, and I think
it's not like I did horrible, but like
but I think that the mentor, the greatest accomplishment is to be beat.
Absolutely.
You know, and I see the stuff that he turns out now in the wood shop or the metalworking that he does. That stuff that I have never even just thought of. And, you know, I see my older son do things that I'll never be able to do. Dude, and that to me
musically?
Just kill it. And I think that's the beauty, and that's where the real happiness comes from, is to see that happen. And even in my work life, you know, when I get beat on the sales floor.
Oh, I bet that's a great feeling. Because
your initial thing is like, oh, son of a bitch. But in the end, you're like, that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, when I started, I was spanking you, and now you're beating me. That's good news. You're doing something right.
And the reason why is because you've been watching. You've been learning, and you're watching, and you're paying attention, and you took some of the heat that I gave you and all that stuff, and you took it. And again, back to the determination. You had the determination to beat your mentor. I was watching beat Bobby Flay on TV, and it was, you know, somebody that they were mentoring, and the whole goal was, I got to beat him. You know, I got to beat my mentor. I got to beat my mentor, and that was the crown at the end. So
I mean, that's kind of the point of being a mentor, is you are supposed to set the bar so that it can be beaten. That's kind of the point of going first.
I mean, that's the entire society, right? Like, you have to. Everything has to build on each other and become.
It should. I don't think people see it that way.
I think they do.
Like, when Dylan does something, my first thought is, congrats. Next thought is, how can I do that better?
Yeah.
And then I guarantee he thinks the same way whenever I do something.
Well, I think there's always that competitiveness, right?
But I think that's how you push each other forward, and that's how we all get to where we're hopefully going to want to be, is by staying around the people who are going to set that new bar in a direction that we're actually trying to go. Instead of, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, I'm going to keep up with the Foles. You know, I'm gonna choose who's setting that bar for me. It's not going to be that Instagram model or like someone on Pinterest. I'm going to set it with someone who's really going to push me where I want to go, instead of just kind of letting yourself be subject to falling into that.
I think that the people that are okay with where they're at in life and who they are will continue to push others. I think there are some people that just don't do that, unfortunately, but I think surrounding yourself with people that will allow you to succeed and don't put you down. And I've been in situations where people like just didn't want me to succeed and didn't want me to outshine them or sell them or do whatever. And I could see that occurring. And you got to decide, right? You got to decide, is this person good for me or not? And if really the only thing I felt like and being my competitive thing is I'm going to beat you at your own game. I'm going to whoop your ass.
Yeah, there's nothing
whatever we're doing, biking, woodworking, selling, whatever. It's like you're not holding me back. And I think that goes back to determination, and that there's always going to be things that kind of get in your way. And the question is, are you willing to push like hell to get past it? And I've always been that guy. I've always been that guy that there's no way in hell anybody's ever going to be able to stop me in what I want to do. Period. You ain't got enough.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So and yeah, they might be able to slow me down or cause me some grief or do whatever, but in the end, shy of me punching them in the face, I gotta get going.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, speaking of that, why don't you tell us one of those stories?
Yeah, I want to hear
a story.
At least one wild story.
Wild story, yeah.
Party Dave.
Oh, man.
Everyone named Dave is officially Party Dave.
Party Dave. I'm trying to think of like what story I could tell you that I will regret bringing up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like how you and Megan met's somewhat funny and reasonably safe.
Well, he already told that one.
Yeah, well, there's more to it.
Yeah.
No one listening to this is going to see that face, but it was priceless. That was so worth, even if we never hear the story.
Yeah, but that'll make me look like an ass. I don't know about that.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point.
I think, stories, we've done anything from, driving across the country with $10 in our pocket and, begging for money and doing different things. And I really feel like I've pushed every boundary I potentially could have. When we were talking about that, the one story I thought that I said I kind of pushed boundaries farther than I should have. The thing that popped in my head is when I was partying up at Santa Barbara in the college in the co-ed dorm, and we were partying pretty heavy, and I felt like for some odd reason I could stick my face in a trash can.
As we all do.
As I was running down the hallway, I saw this trash can, and everybody was behind me kind of running after me, and I kind of quick turned right to stick my face in the trash can, and it was a laminate trash can that had a pretty small door, and I wedged my face in there and got caught between my nose and the top of my head. And the laminate on there, now being a woodworker, I know that shit's sharp.
So sharp.
Cut into my nose and kind of locked me into the trash can. So
that's spectacular.
Those are one of the moments where you said, maybe I shouldn't have done that road and should have just kept running past the trash can.
The partied a little too hard line.
So that's
the only, a great story.
That's the only quick one that's not too off color that would get me in trouble.
I've also cut my face on a trash can, so I'm not going to judge at all. I was playing make-believe guns with JT at the car wash, because Joey Quota has been a part of. I've never not been able to have fun.
Right.
I can't. It's just not in my blood. And so we're bored one day at work, and we're working at this car wash, and JT and I are playing like fake spy, and we're like shooting at each other like finger style, like pew pew pew. And I get real amped up, 2 in the moment, and I'm like, I'm going to friggin' action hero dive out of this car wash, ninja roll. I'm gonna shoot him, and he's gonna have to concede that was the coolest shot ever made. And instead, I just dove face first into the edge of a trash can I didn't know was there. And to this day, I have a huge scar across my left eye, just because, kind of underneath my left eye, where I hit my face hard enough on this thing. I definitely gave myself a concussion and split myself wide open on a round edge. Like it was a circular trash can made of tube. Like, there was no sharp edges. I hit my face that hard. Full commitment on the dive, so I'm not going to judge.
I had to figure out if I was man enough to turn my head and cut the rest of my nose to get my head out of the trash can. So, yeah.
That's such a shitty moment where you're like, I'm in a bad place, and for me to get to a better place, you're going to have to make it just a little bit worse.
Yeah, that was stupid times. Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's so great. Well, we always like to end on the same question of what do you think, it's just like a fun, easy way to end anyways, is when you think of the word joy or joy quota, what it takes to fill your joy quota, what comes to mind? It doesn't have to be a great piece of story or anything. It's just a nice place to kind of wrap up of when you think of the word joy, what comes to mind?
The quick thing, the first thing that pops in my head is just being able to hang out with family and have a good time and to do things together. I think that's the biggest joy for me. I know that's kind of probably what a lot of people would say, but I think, I drove 1,000 miles to find a wife, to have a family, and to do things for years that made me a better man. And I think that in the end, that's what's given me the most joy, is to be a part of their lives. So I think that's probably the thing that gives me the most joy.
That's amazing, yeah. I mean, there's no arguing with that. Well, that being said, I guess everybody happy with where we ended. Is there anything you wanted to share? Is there anything you wanted to ask?
No, I think I probably shared a little bit too much in the trash can story. Probably could have been left out, but I think
safe enough.
I think I appreciate the opportunity to kind of talk about it, and happy to be a part of your life and your life as well. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
That was fun.
As always, so grateful that ran into a random kid. I guess that's one weird thing that I think is worth talking about. What was it like having I was probably close to 20 when I first came to your house with your 13-year-old kid, and I was like, hey, I'd like to borrow your son for the afternoon. I'm taking him to a skate park.
I was okay with it, but Megan wasn't.
Yeah, because I don't realize what I placed my parents in. And I've talked about this with other BMX riders, because it's such a tight-knit community.
It's the same thing.
Everyone gets that opportunity to be the weird older guy that doesn't realize that they're being the weird older guy.
Yeah, because I was that to Gavin.
Yeah,
I'm probably 6 years older, I think.
Yeah, something like that, 5-6 years older, and when you're
But
11 versus 16 or something, it's a pretty big
different.
Yeah, there's nobody that rides bikes. Like, that you don't have an option. Like, there was no other 18-year-olds riding bikes. It was
a bunch of 13-year-olds.
13-year-olds, yeah, that's just the way it was.
I think at the beginning it was super weird, but we kind of vetted you out pretty quick and realized that you were just a very caring person and didn't go off the weird side. So... I mean, dressed a little funny, but not weird.
Yeah.
So we were happy to have you be a part of that, and I think Dawson and I think our family has really been enriched by you kind of showing up and being that guy, because I didn't have to spend every single night at the damn bike park. I had somebody that was looking out for him, so I appreciate that.
Dude, yeah, happy to play my part. Yeah, it's so funny every time I think about that. Like, I'm just like, I feel like that was a big rewarding part of being a BMX rider for me. Is like, I had so many of those guys in my life show up where they're like, I was hanging out with like 30-year-olds when I was 15, not realizing they were making like a really weird choice to hang out with me.
Yeah, and I did too, because I played a little older. So, I mean, it wasn't that weird for me, but Megan's like, this guy's a freaking
I can't imagine what Megan thought.
Ask her one day. Bring her in here to ask her.
I'm going to,
sure. Because she's way more lively than I am.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, man. Seriously, couldn't have had a better time, Dave. This has been awesome. Can't wait till we go take your boat out this summer and we just go enjoy this wonderful Colorado place we get to live in.
Sounds good. The marina opens April 1st.
Boom! There it is. Yeah, dude, we'll get pop a full out there, do some wakeboarding, we'll chill on the pontoon boat, we'll be money.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.